with me now, former press secretary and host of Spicer & Co., Sean Spicer. Sean, good to see you.
Good to see you.
This is incredible.
It is. Think about how many people are braving this freezing cold weather for a great cause.
This is the coldest March for Life I've ever been to.
It's probably the coldest one ever.
And you've lost one of your gloves.
I have. And it's worth it. It's so hot out here. The excitement,
We both know it's really worth it just so you can work your phone, right?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Let me ask you, the million-dollar question is, Supreme Court, they're considering Dobbs right now. They're considering whether to overturn Roe v. Wade. Is it going to happen? How are they going to rule?
You know, look, my guess is the way that Kavanaugh and Barrett answered the questions, particularly to Collins during the confirmation process, they're going to find a way to thread the needle, right? So they're not going to overturn it, but they're going to find some way to allow the states to give latitude to say, well, life, they give them some definition of when life begins, and therefore ability to enact legislation up until that point.
So basically, right? They're going to uphold the Mississippi law, but still uphold Roe.
Right. So they'll say, we'll recognize the changes in science and technology that have, which is what, frankly, they said back in the day. So I think they're not going to have a fundamental overhaul of Roe, but essentially they will update it.
I think that's correct. My only skepticism is, what does that look like? How does that come down from the bench saying that you can have this law that clearly violates Roe v. Wade while still upholding Roe v. Wade?
And that's, the devil's always in the detail. But, you know, if you look back, and I'm not a lawyer, but I've always found it interesting how the court seems to punt on big issues,
yes.
Right? They never want to tackle the big issues, and I think that you're going to see that more and more in these upcoming decisions. Although it'll be fascinating because you've got a 6-3 court, so you can lose. You know, you can lose more than you have in the past.
And maybe we will. I mean, the one justice that I think hasn't made up his mind, at least as of the oral arguments, was Roberts. He seemed to actually be listening to the argument.
But again, you don't need him. So that's the fascinating thing about this.
It is, and we're all, I think, on tenterhooks here waiting.
I think a 6-3 decision, though, sends a much bigger signal than a 5-4.
Oh, I would certainly hope so. I mean, it should be a unanimous decision if you're ruling from the Constitution here. If it is overturned, let's entertain that idea for a second. If it is overturned, what does a post-Roe America look like?
A post-Roe America looks like a bunch of states making decisions for themselves, kind of what they should be doing, to be honest with you, but you're going to have different states making decisions, and I think you're going to have a variety. You're going to have some states that are much more restrictive, some states, like Gavin Newsom has said California will be, which will be a sanctuary state, and then I think you're going to have some states in the middle that have this middle ground, if you will, where they talk maybe outlaw, different phases of it.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to have that kind of a world.
Well, I think it's interesting. Right now, the eyes of our country have shifted to Virginia, right? We see the gubernatorial race there everyone was watching that. We see the critical race theory arguments. We see the transgender bathroom arguments in Loudoun County. What state in a post-Roe America do you think, or what states, would become the hotbeds of these fights?
Well, what's interesting about your question is, if you had asked that question 12 months ago, 16 months ago, Virginia wouldn't have been the answer.
Yeah.
New Jersey wouldn't have been an answer, right? There's no way that race should have been as close as it was. So the question, and I think the answer is, I think this motivates a lot more people saying, hey, if you can almost do it in New Jersey and you can do it in Virginia, why can't you do it in a, fill in the blank?
Yeah, in a swing state.
Right, so I believe that you're going to see a lot more states get active. You're going to see parents engage in an issue like they did in Loudoun County, Virginia, in a life issue in a way that they haven't before. Look at all these young people.
Incredible.
Who certainly say, hey, this activism pays off.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, that's one of the most encouraging things to me every year, but particularly this year, all the students that come to this march. Hundreds, thousands of students that come to this march. Mr. Spicer, thank you for the interview. It's good to see you.
Thanks for coming on Spicer & Company all the time.
Of course.
Great to see you on the show.
It's fun to turn it around.
I know,
it's
weird.
For a change.
I was starting to get used to asking the questions every night. It's weird to be back on the other side.
Turnabout is fair play. This is how you're fair to each other.
It is.
Thank you for being here. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button below, and ring the bell to make sure you never miss a video.